Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing well. Let's begin with our revision session of test of controls. Okay. Now basically we will be going through some of the questions in which if there is a conceptual area, if there is an area which requires some explanation regarding any of the concepts or any of the ISAs, I'll explain the ISA as well alongside with a particular question. So let's read the first scenario. The first scenario is giving us data, right? Now, the best way to solve a scenario-based question is to read the question. Okay? If you're reading the question first, you know what to find. Okay? Then some of the scenarios, some of the questions are not having any link with or don't have any kind of relation with the passage given to you. So better it is to read the question first, so that you know what to find in the particular area. Okay. Now, in the first question, we can visibly see that they are asking which of the following is not a objective of Hailstorm's company's sales and dispatch system. Okay. Now, when we have read the question, we know that we have to identify the keywords here, sales and dispatch system. Okay. So let's read the passage. Now, you are an audit supervisor with Lizzie and Company reviewing extracts from the sales and dispatch systems, documentation preparation for the interim audit. Now, Hailstorm manufactures snacks, so they are a manufacturing company. In a manufacturing company, we can reasonably say there is a higher risk of discrepancies, okay? Such as the potato chips, which are supplied to large and small food retailers. Hailstorm has experienced significant growth over recent years. So they have experienced growth in recent years. If there is growth, there is complexity. When there is complexity, there is a higher chance of having complex controls and difficulty in understanding the systems. The higher difficulty means higher control risks. Control risk is basically having a higher chance of problems, mistakes, errors in the particular control system. If we have a higher control risk, if we have a higher control risk, I can reasonably say my overall risk of audit will be higher as well. Now, this is a concept that you should understand that when you're studying internal controls or you're studying test of controls, what is the objective? The objective is to identify what is the risky area or what substantial risk do you carry in your audit. If you have a higher risk, that means your overall audit will require higher efforts. The main agenda of testing your controls, performing substantive procedure is to assess what is the risk in the audit. If you assess what is the risk in the audit, you can plan accordingly and you can respond to it accordingly. So many people get confused that if we are performing a test of controls, what will it relate to? What will it impact? So if you know that test of control is a preliminary activity that we do before or while we are planning the audit, it will help you understand the company's risk assessment and what should be our track or what should be our strategy to cater the problems. Okay. So control risk high means high audit risk. That means we should be very vigilant with the audit because there's a higher chance that there can be mistakes in the system and our opinion might go wrong. Okay. Now, recently they have a significant growth and senior management has established an internal audit department to improve the control environment of the company. So an internal audit department is there. If there is an internal audit department, that basically gives us an indication that the controls might be better. Now look, this doesn't signal you that the controls are correct, but it gives us a little relief that there might be something less wrong or the errors might be lower in nature. Like if you see that a security guard is sitting in front of a bank, you feel a sense of security, right? Can the security guard alone resolve or stop a robbery? No, he cannot. He cannot do that. If he cannot do that, we know that this will not completely eradicate the risk, but it will create a sense of security for us. It will perform as a deterrence. People will think twice before acting up in a negative way. So internal audit department present only creates a situation where the management of the company or the board of directors of the company or the senior management of the company or the lower employees of the company are basically vigilant that there is a department that is there to check the controls. So we should be very careful in this regard. Okay. So let's move forward. Now, you are a member of recently formed internal audit department, so we are part of the internal audit department. Senior management of Hailstorm company has concerns about the effectiveness of the company's sales and dispatch system and has instructed the internal audit department to perform a review of the system. Any deficiencies identified are to be reported to the finance director, who will report the findings back to the board of directors at the next board meeting. Now, the complete passage I have written the complete passage here. I did not see any link with the first question. Okay, so this happens. This is why I tell you guys to read the question first. You could have saved some time if you would have read the question first. I have already read the passage with you guys only for the reason that I could show you that sometimes there is no link with the passage. You can answer some of the questions by common sense also. And when I talk about the first question, question number 81, this is not a question of audit. This is a question of common sense. Okay. Now, how I will let you know. The question is, which of the following is not an objective of Hailstorm's sales and dispatch system? Let's read all the options. Now, when you read all the options, I would basically recommend you guys to read all the options and mark the wrong ones out. Till you at least read all the options, don't come to direct answer. Sometimes there is a small change in the wording that could result in a change in the answer. Okay, so let's read the first pointer. The first question pointer says to ensure that orders are only accepted if goods are available. Okay. Now, sales and dispatch system. Sales system is a system that is basically installed so that we can manage that the order receiving, the credit limits, the dispatch of the goods, and the complete processing of the order is done adequately. So one of the objectives of sales system will be to ensure that goods are accepted if the orders are accepted only if the goods are available. So this is a job, an objective of a sales system. So this is an incorrect answer. Now we basically have to only choose the ones which are incorrect. The correct answer will be not an objective. So the first one is incorrect, not an option. The second one, to ensure that all orders are recorded completely and accurately. If orders are recorded adequately and completely, that is a job of a sales system. That is our job of a sales system. Our objective of a sales system will be that we record everything correctly, completely, accurately, and we perform the complete task adequately in nature. Okay, so second one is also incorrect. Now moving towards number 3, to ensure discounts received are accounted for completely and accurately. Now I think that this point might be our answer. Why? Because they're talking about a word, they have used a keyword here that says discount received. Now when we're having a sale, we have a discount allowed only. We have a discount allowed only. Discount received is a part of our purchase system. This is part of our purchase system. So this has no link with sales and dispatch system. If you are giving a discount to a customer, it is discount allowed only. Okay. So this might be possibly our correct answer, but let's read the last option as well. So to be sure that we are not on the wrong path. Now, last option says to ensure that all goods dispatched are correctly invoiced. So that is the objective of your particular sales system and dispatch system. That is obviously a system that we have to follow. So the last one is also incorrect. Our correct answer is option number C. Okay. Now, number 2. What does number 2 say? Number 2 says that match the control deficiencies to an appropriate explanation of the issue. Okay. Match the deficiency with appropriate explanation. Okay. Now, deficiencies are given to us in 4 pointers above. The first deficiency is, number 1 deficiency is availability of inventory is not checked until at the time of ordering. Okay. Now, what do we have to do is we basically have to identify the deficiency and point out the risk what it carries. Okay. So first is availability of inventory is not checked until at the time of ordering. Now, if you think carefully, if you don't have inventory available, and we take up an order, what will happen? Here, what will happen is that we would not be able to fulfill the particular goods that we're taking order for, right? The customer who is basically the customer who is basically placing an order will not get the goods at the adequate time, because if we don't have them in inventory, we are going to order it from supplier. The supplier is going to make it, manufacture it, and then we're going to deliver it. So it will result in a delay in the sales. Okay, so I'm writing the answers here separately. For deficiency number one, if I read the pointers out, first pointer says that you have a risk of incorrect orders being dispatched. So incorrect order being dispatched is a problem of dispatch, not order taking. Okay, if we don't check the goods, we are not able to dispatch the goods. So this one doesn't seem to be relatable here. The second one is irrecoverable debt. Irrecoverable debt can be an issue if you're not checking the credit limit when the other party is not able to pay us. It has nothing to do with goods not being available with us, right? So B cannot be an option. Now we have C. C says risk of order not being fulfilled on time. This seems more logical to me. This seems more logical to me with the problem that we are having. But let's read the last one as well. Orders may go missing, leading to unfulfilled orders. Order going missing is not a problem in this deficiency. This deficiency can lead us to delay in orders or not fulfilling orders. But missing of orders is not the problem here. It is not the risk here. So here we can say that number one is carrying the deficiency that meets the risk of number C. So one on number two. For number two, the deficiency is telephone orders are initially noted on a piece of paper and then transferred to an order form after the call has ended. So we are taking the order manually. Once the order has been taken, we after that transfer it to our official documents. Okay, so once we have basically taken the order on paper, we are transferring it to another computerized system. Basically, we should do it in one go. When we are on the call, we should directly just read take the order and transfer it to the computerized system, not go in a two-step manner. Okay, so here what can be the risk that I can identify? I can see that if I am copying 10 orders on a piece of paper and then transferring it to the system, I might misnumber the orders. I might misplace the orders. I might basically go up and down. I might not number them adequately. My codes are inaccurate. When I'm inputting in the system, my input might have an error. So this might result in having wrong orders given to customers. Now, if I'm not taking the orders correctly, I'm going to dispatch them incorrectly, obviously. So number two is a little indication where I can basically relate to our risk number A. Whereas A says risk of incorrect orders being dispatched. So if I'm taking the orders down incorrectly, obviously I'm going to dispatch them incorrectly, right? So two is having answer of A. Now number three. Number three says that order forms are not sequentially numbered. If order forms are not sequentially numbered, there is no sequence identified by me. If I don't know the sequence, what will happen? What will happen is that I might not be able to keep a track of the orders. Now, if I have a sequence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I know that if 7 is missing or 8 is missing, I know there is a missing item there. But if I don't know that there is a sequence, there is no numbering there, that means if something goes missing, we don't know about it, right? So here the point number 3 is indicating me towards a risk of D. Why? The risk is order may go missing because we don't have a sequential numbering, and due to that, we might not be able to fulfill the order, obviously. So 3 is going towards D. Now, number 4. Number 4 is the online ordering system allows customer to place order with exceeding their credit limits. So exceeding their credit limit means, first of all, what is credit limit? Credit limit is basically a line drawn that we will give you only up to this amount of credit line. Credit line is basically consume now, pay later. Okay, so in very simple words. So if I have drawn a line here that you can take maximum of $1,000 worth of credit, and my online system says that you can take a credit of $1,200, that means basically my system is ineffective. Now, if I'm giving more goods than my credit limit, obviously that means that the other party might not be able to pay us. If he's not able to pay us, obviously there is a higher chance of bad debt here. So number 4 is indicating me towards B, where there is a higher risk of irrecoverable debts or bad debt. I believe the question is clear to you guys. Let's move forward to question number 3. Now, question number 3 says, which two of the following are appropriate recommendations to address the credit limit system deficiencies? Credit limit system deficiency is highlighted in front of us. It says that online ordering system doesn't have an adequate credit limit system setup. If it doesn't have a credit limit system setup, that means basically it is not able to, or it is not basically taking our guidelines into account. So we should ensure that our system is strong enough to take care of the deficiencies that we have, right? Our objective now here, what you have to identify, what you have to hear, what you have to think is what your mindset should be, that what should be my objective here. Now, if you are looking for a recommendation, I'll give you a tip. When you're looking for a recommendation, first identify the risk. If you know the risk, then think of what should be the objective of your control. What are you trying to achieve here? Now, if I know there is a risk that I might have a bad debt, my objective of my control will be to have a credit limit applied, or my objective will be to lower bad debts, having a system that is effective, right? So if my objective is that I will have a system which basically emphasizes on, or which basically focuses on having a lower bad debt, I will apply a system where my credit limits are complied by my online ordering system, or my online orders are first reviewed by my senior management before they are accepted or not, right? So yeah, now number 3, we will see what are the options that we have. First option says credit limit should be reviewed by a responsible official on a regular basis and amended appropriately. Yes, that is a good option. That is a good answer. Where if a credit limit is checked by a senior manager, he is more experienced in nature. He is basically more prone towards the market. He understands the market. He will see the trends and amend the credit limit. If a customer is repeatedly paying us on time and is having good credit worthiness is basically that person is viable enough or trustworthy enough that he can pay us back our money that he owes us. So we should increase the credit limit so that we are not losing our business. So first one is a correct option. Okay. Now number 2, sales order clerk should be allowed to use discretion to raise credit limits to avoid losing revenue. Okay. Now sales clerk. Clerk is a very junior post. Clerk doesn't have the technical viability, technical experience, and the authority to set a credit limit. If you are giving the credit limit accessibilities to a clerk, he will make decisions that will basically increase your bedded chances or decrease your revenue substantially. So he is not the correct person to give the credit limit decision in his hands. He should not be given the credit limit decisions in his hand. So this one is an incorrect option. Now number 3, the online ordering system should be programmed to allow orders up to a maximum of 5% in excess of credit limit. No, it should not. If a credit limit is set, the order should be accepted only till the maximum of the credit limit, not above than that. If you're going beyond that, that means basically you are obviously not following the rules. Why are you flexible? If you want to be flexible, take the permission of the senior management first. You cannot do it on your own. This is also an incorrect option. Now, the last one is inherently correct, but why it is correct? Let's read it. Orders which would cause a customer to exceed their credit limit should be sent to a responsible official. It should be sent to a responsible official for approval. Why? Official might see some of the areas or might get indication that this person might pay us. If let's say I am a senior in a company and an order comes to me where the other party is exceeding the credit limit, I will research about them in the market. I will ask around in the market. If I see that yes, this person has credibility, he has enough assets, and he is willing to give us some collateral that he will be able to pay us the particular amount that he owes us, obviously I will give him the credit and I will accept his order. So a senior person should be able to check it. Okay. So with this, we are done with question number 3 as well. Now question number 4. It says that which of the following recommendations should be made to address deficiencies number 2. What is deficiency number 2? Let's read it again. Deficiency number 2 is Telephone orders are initially noted on piece of paper and transferred to an order form after the call has ended. So they are first manually recording them, then they're moving towards computerized systems. So direct system should be opted where they are directly recording it into the computerized system. The call should be recorded as well, so that if a person has any kind of problem, if he faces any kind of issues, he is able to cater them. Okay, so let's see. Now they have given us four options. We have to read them all. Now, order clerks should have only access to view real-time inventory quantities in the time of ordering. Okay, so real-time ordering system is not a deficiency here. The deficiency is that we are recording them manually and we are transferring them into computerized system. The point number one is giving us a solution for some other deficiency. So that is irrelevant for us. Cross it out. Okay. Number two, order form should be sequentially pre-numbered and regular sequence check should be performed. If we are having, if we are having a sequentially numbered order system and we are checking them continuously, it will basically result in a better computerized system, a better system where we are able to track all the orders. And one thing here, number two and number three, both deficiencies are to be looked upon. So number three was a problem that we don't have pre-numbered systems. So point number two is correct point. Okay. Now number three. What does number three says? All orders should be entered directly into the ordering system. So a keyword here. The keyword here that I am repeating again and again as the customer is placing them. So this is also a correct option. And last one says customers should be instructed not to place order by telephone. That is a foolishness that we would do. I'm telling the customer not to directly talk to us, send us an email. That is a thing that is a deficiency on our side. We should rectify deficiency, not close down a door, right? So this is an incorrect option. So with two and three being the correct answers, we are having two and three. Option number two. Okay. Now let's move towards the last question. Okay, which of the following statement is true in respect of review findings? What is correct in terms of review findings? Okay, now what does it say? Findings will be communicated to the shareholders at annual general meeting. Now, reviewing the findings means looking back at what we have found or directly communicating it to the shareholders. Communicating with the shareholders is a very extreme thing. It is a thing that we do at the end when we are satisfied that this is a problem that is of key significance or that will result in a failure of a company's operations. This is not the correct option that we should choose. Okay. Now, recommendations will need to be actioned before the external audit commences. So that is not a part of review. That is a part of recommendation. Now, reviewing something, reviewing the findings means checking the findings, checking them. What are the findings telling us? What is the pattern there? What is the system telling us about the company's system? What is the company? What is the outcome of the audit or outcome of the particular system that we should focus on? Okay, so recommendation is the second part. After you have reviewed your findings, you can give a recommendation. You are not going to directly give recommendations on the findings you have. You are going to review them, refine them, and identify key elements or key areas that should be improved. So option number two is also incorrect. Now, the findings should be reported directly to the board of directors rather than the finance director. Now, here, if you have read the passage carefully, they are telling us that the internal audit department perform a review of the system. Any deficiencies identified are reported to finance directors, who will report the improvements to the board of directors. Now understand one thing, that if we have an internal audit department, an internal audit department is required to be independent. If the internal audit department is reporting to an executive party, their independence is at stake. If we are talking about internal audit department, they need to be independent in nature. That means they should be true and fair, and they should not have a direct communication, a direct link with the internal management. And that is a very big problem for us. If you're reporting to the finance director, that means your objectivity is at hindrance. You're not independent enough. You directly should report to the audit committee or the board of directors. If you're reporting to the board of directors, you are independent. If you're reporting to the audit committee, you are independent. Other than that, you are not independent in nature. So finance director should not be reported to. Let's say why should not be reported. Let's take an example. The finance director is a person who can approve some of the discounts given or some of the transactions, some of the loans. If I tell the finance director that you approved a credit limit for a person, he has gone bankrupt, or the system was overridden by a person, he will try to cover it up first rather than give a recommendation to mitigate the risk. He will try to cover up his tracks or cover up the reputation of the organization first before he is basically trying to mitigate the risk. So he is not a correct person to report to. So if with that in mind, option number three seems relevant to me, but let's read option number four as well. Findings should be discussed with external auditor before being communicated to the finance director. No, external auditor is a party who is coming to check the company. He is coming to check the company. Now, if you're discussing things with them, you're basically giving them an opportunity to identify or tell them that your audit will be at risk. You're telling them that your audit will be at risk. So basically, they will ask the particular company management to raise the prices or raise the remuneration that they're getting. Other than that, the external auditor has no responsibility towards the internal controls or internal audit. He has no responsibility of internal controls. The responsibilities lies with the management. So the external auditor can only recommend that, but he has nothing to do with it. So giving them the information would be irrelevant in nature, would be just waste of time. That is not a good thing to do. Directly reporting to the board of directors will be the correct option here. So with this, we have completed our first question of internal controls. Now I believe that everyone is clear on the questions. Now moving on towards question number two of today, that is basically another test of control question. Now let's see what the scenario is saying. The scenario is telling us that first of all, you are audit supervisor of Marigold Company reviewing extracts from documentation describing themselves sales, inventory, and purchasing system. So we are focusing on sales system, inventory system, and purchasing system. One thing before starting the question, I would recommend you guys please always keep the cycles in front of you. If you know how a standard cycle of purchase, sale, or any system working or payroll system is working, you will be able to identify what should be done where. Okay, so it will help you get more pointers for the exam. If you have a 5 marker question for practice, if you are working on a 5 marker question, I would recommend you to at least write 8 pointers. When you write 8 pointers, you have a wider vocabulary, a wider option in the examination hall when you're sitting there, and you cannot basically go for uh, what to write. You have practice more questions. You have written more pointers, so at least 5 good points will come out in the examination hall. For 5 marker for practice questions, write at least 7 to 8 points so that you have a wider choice, a better option to write in the exam. Okay, so let's begin with the scenario. Now, Prime Rose has recently upgraded its computerized system to enable greater automation of transactions. The new system has integrated the sales, inventory, and purchase system, resulting in minimal manual entry. So, minimal manual entry results in a better system operations. A minimal manual entry reduces time consumption. It increases efficiency. Sales orders are entered into the system manually. The inventory system is automatically updated to reflect that inventory has been allocated to an order. The system will flag if there is insufficient inventory to fulfill the order. That is a good control. The inventory system is linked to a purchasing system so that when inventory falls to a minimum level, a purchase order is automatically created and sent to the purchasing manager for authorization. Now, one thing here that I want to emphasize here is if you guys have studied cost management accounting, there is a table. in which you are basically having, we draw a table, multiple levels. One is your reorder level, one is your minimum level, then you have a maximum level. Now inventory should be ordered when you reach your reorder level, not your minimum level. Minimum level is the point, is the time where your inventory that is ordered should be received by yourself. This is the last point we should go at. Okay, so reordering at the minimum level is not a very good option, because if in the market you get a shortage, you will fall behind and you might have a stock out position. A stock out position is basically a position where you are not able to cater the customer because you don't have any inventory left. So order should be placed at reorder level, not at minimum level. Now, once manager clicks authorized, the order is automatically sent electronically to the approved supplier. The system is backed up daily to ensure minimal loss of data. That is a good system. PrimeSource internal auditors were present during the implementation of the new system and performed tests during the process to ensure information transferred into the new system was free from errors. The internal audit plan of work has been updated to include regular tests of the systems throughout the year. So perpetual testing is a good system, is a good procedure to be done. Now, Marigold and company is planning to use automated tools and techniques during the audit for the first time. Now, this is a problem. They're using automated systems for the first time. Now, why is it a problem? This is a problem because, first of all, if you are having something done for the first time, you're not very handy towards it. If you don't have the technical resources to basically handle a thing, you don't have the experience to handle a computerized system or an advanced company, you might have a higher detection risk. Now, what is detection risk? Detection risk is basically risk of not being able to detect the misstatements. If you don't have a higher detection risk, the overall audit risk will be higher also. Overall audit risk will be higher also. So if you are having a high detection risk, the audit risk will be higher. That means basically you have to perform more work. You should basically perform more work. Okay. Now, this year, as a result of new systems, is also planning to use work of Prime Rose company's internal audit department if possible. So now they're using the work of internal audit. If they're using the work of internal audit, that means basically they are using either 610. Okay. Now, here what they're saying is that using the work of internal auditor, this is a big question. First of all, should we use their work? Are we permitted to use their work? And what safeguards should we apply if you're using their work? Using the work of another party is a big risk. Why is it a big risk? It is a big risk because the other party might not have adequate resources, they might not have technical experiences, might not have the qualifications. Because their work was wrong, because of their deficiencies in the work, you might result in getting a wrong answer or a wrong audit outcome. So you might be at the wrong because you use their work. So this is a big risk to take. Okay. Now let's read the questions. First question says, which of the following is not a test of control in respect of Prime Rose company systems? So which is not a test of control. So your objective should be not a control. Your objective should be not a control, and this is the prime objective here. Now look, trace a sample of purchase order to the approved supplier list to ensure the supplier used is approved. Okay. Now I believe that you guys have some idea of substantive procedures. Okay. Now if you have an idea of substantive procedures, you might get an idea that substantive procedures work in the way how they are basically verifying documentation. They're saying what is the claim made by the management. The claim is basically the claim is basically authorized, or claim is basically correct in nature. Okay, so here we are saying that which of them are not a test of controls. If I am tracing a sample of purchase order through approved supplier list to ensure the supplier used is approved, am I checking my system whether I am sending my orders to the approved supplier only or not? Yes, I am. Basically, I am checking my system here. Okay. Now, next one, trace a sale order through to the system and into the detailed sale listing to ensure it is recorded. Now, tell me one thing. Is recording of your particular system or particular sale part of the system or part of your particular assertion of completeness? Are we checking the system here, or are we checking the completeness of our transaction? And completeness is checked by substantive procedures. Now they're saying that trace sales order. Now we have an order through to the system that we had we order came coming in, and we traced it to the system, and we took the detailed sale listing. Then we took another document, and we're cross-checking documentations that whether it is recorded completely or not. So this is one of the area where substantive procedures are coming in. So this could be a possible correct answer. The first one is incorrect. Second one could be a possible correct answer. Now review a sample of purchase orders in the system to ensure they are authorized within system. Authorization is a control that is applied. If it is a control applied, we are checking the control here. That is the incorrect answer as well. Next, inspect copies of backups. Now we are making backups. If you're checking the backups, we are checking the systems, we are checking the rules that we have made. The rules are basically controls that we apply. So this is also not an answer here. Now, sometimes what happens is that you might think some of them are correct or all of them are the correct answers. Okay, this happens, normally it happens. So what technique should we use here is we should basically try to go for the most incorrect answer. So you think that all are correct, try to go for the least correct answer. If you think all are wrong, go for the most incorrect answer. So by going towards the most extreme end, you will be basically mitigating or rectifying or moving out of the wrong zone. If I see here that I get four options, I see that all of them are correct. So I will say which is the least likely to be correct. I will cross them out. Once I cross them out, I am able to basically say that yes, these are the options that I should go for. Which is the most correct or which is the most close one, I will go for the closest one. So this reduces the chance of having a wrong answer chosen. Now, 87. It says select whether the following controls identify in prime row systems are general or information processing controls. Now, general controls can be applied anywhere and everywhere. Information processing controls are applied in specific areas. Okay. Now, daily backup of system. Now, a logical understanding. Just think of it. Forget audit for a minute. Logically think that if I am backing up my WhatsApp data, I am doing it on a daily basis. When I'm backing up my WhatsApp, it is a system that can be applied anywhere and everywhere, right? So it is a general control. It is applied any and everywhere. Next thing, authorization of purchase orders. Now, authorization of purchase orders. Now they have specifically given you something. Purchase orders are authorized only when purchase orders are there. We cannot use it somewhere else. So it is an information system, information processing control. Next, minimum order quantities. Minimum order quantities are only used when we need to identify how many goods to order or when to order, right? This is a control applied for inventory system management only. So this is also in information processing control. I cannot use it for any other place. Next thing, automatic updating of inventory. Once goods are sold, automatic updating of inventory once goods are sold. So this is also a specific area for inventory control system. So I cannot use it for anywhere else, right? This is also information processing controls. This one is quite an easy one for us. Now, moving on towards the next one. Which of the following procedures provide the most reliable evidence that inventory system updates? Or inventory system updates automatically once an order has been received. So which of the following procedures provide the most reliable evidence? The reliable evidence that the inventory system updates automatically once an order has been placed or received. So let's read the option. What does it say? First, review the inventory level of an item. Review the inventory level of an item. Enter a sales order into the system and review the inventory level again after the order has been placed. So here Do I see a complete system, a complete cycle? Yes, I see a complete cycle here. What is the complete cycle here? The complete cycle is that I am first reviewing the inventory level. I'm checking that I have 100 goods. Okay. Then what did I do? I placed an order into the system. Okay. Then I check the level again that I placed an order for 10. Now it should be 90. Is it 90? Yes, it is. That means it is correct. So this is a complete procedure that I am going through, right? So if I'm going through this procedure, that is a correct evidence obtaining system. Okay. Now number one. Number two. Count a sample of items of inventory in the warehouse and agree that the quantities to the quantity stated in the inventory system. That is not a system that is giving us an idea of if we get an order, what will be a change in inventory. That is not giving us a ordering system or order inventory connection system or evidence on based on that. So if a order comes in, we are checking the inventory count there. We don't know what quantity is ordered or what was the quantity before that. We're just checking that the inventory written in the system is equal to the one that is physically there. That is the incorrect option. Next, review the inventory report detailing quantities of items to identify unusual high or low quantities. This is a substantial procedure. This is a substantial procedure that is telling us that is there any kind of fraud or any kind of activity that can be a misstatement or not. If I have 10 inventory in the last year, this year we have 100,000. That is a big difference. This is a big difference, or we can say deficiency or discrimination that we have. So if we have a problem here that we have a very high fluctuation, that means it is an indication of fraud, not a system that we can check or obtain evidence on the inventory system being corrected or sales system. That is also incorrect. Next thing, contact a sample of customers to inquire whether they have experienced delays in order being processed due to insufficient inventory being held. They're saying contact a sample of customers to ensure whether they have experienced delays. So they are checking for delays. They're checking for delays, not in the connection of inventory system and the ordering systems. That is also an incorrect option. The correct option is number one. Okay. So reading the keywords here gives you a better idea, a better understanding of what the answer can be. Now, 89. This gives us which can be tested by placing a dummy order. Which can be tested by placing a dummy sales order for large quantity of goods into the system. Select all that apply. Now, if I'm placing a dummy order, that means a fictitious order. To check which of the system, which of them can be checked. I have to answer that. The inventory system is automatically updated to reflect that inventory has been allocated to a sales order. If I place an order, this should happen, right? So I can check this system by placing a dummy order. The system will flag if there is insufficient inventory to fulfill the order. This will be checked. If I place a dummy order, I can check whether the system is flagging it or not. I can. That is correct option. When inventory falls to a minimum level, a purchase order is automatically created and sent to the purchasing manager. So if I'm placing an order, my inventory might go below the particular minimum level or go towards the minimum level. So my order should be placed. I can check that with a dummy order. The purchase order is automatically sent electronically to the approved supplier for that item. So if I am able to get a order placed automatically, that means if I place my order, if I place a dummy order in my system, my purchase order should be generated, right? This is also a correct option. Okay. Now moving on towards the last question, number 90. Now what does the last one say? Which two of the following procedures should be performed by Marigold and Co. to identify whether the work of Prime Rose Company internal audit department can be relied upon? We have to check whether the work of internal audit can be relied upon or not. Which two of them? So let's read the options. First of all, review the internal audit working papers to ensure sufficient appropriate audit evidence has been obtained. Checking the work. Now, three things can be checked here: the qualification, experience, and the third thing is your documentation. Now, if I check the documentation and see that the work that they have they have committed or the work they have conducted is giving me sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, I can use their work, right? So A will be a good option. Now, engage an independent expert to assess the new system and validate the reliability of the internal audit department's work. Now, here, what I am doing is I am hiring a third party. So I am using the word of the third party, not the work of internal audit department, right? So I am not placing reliance. I'm not basically focusing on the work of internal audit department. I'm focusing on the work of third party. What if the third party is giving me a wrong answer? What happens if the third party is not accurate in nature? So here we can say that number two is not an accurate point. Now, number three, re-perform the sample of procedures performed by internal audit to ensure the same conclusion is reached. So re-performing their work and getting to the same conclusion will give me confidence. Like if I am performing a question in front of you and you perform it yourself, you are gaining confidence that yet that question that was done by a friend or by a teacher is correct in nature. Now, if I'm giving you an answer and you go to the Kaplan kit and you check whether the answer is stated same there and you see that the answer is same, you will say that yes, this person is reliable in nature, his work is accurate. So one of the method is this as well. Let's see the last option as well before we move forward. Assess whether the prime rose company has an audit committee in place responsible for overseeing the internal audit department. If so, the external auditor can rely on the work performed by the internal audit department. That is not a correct point. An audit committee being there does not give me confidence that my work is done correctly. It only gives me a confidence that my work can be correct. It is not correct. It is not certain that my work can be correct. I cannot place reliance on that basis only. I can only check the work, and after that, I can place reliance on the particular department. So it is incorrect, and this one is correct. So with this, I have completed the question number two as well, and I believe that every question is clear to you guys. There is no discrepancy. So let's move to the next area of our practice. Okay, now another question on section A of test of controls. Now, it is July 1st, 2005. Shroom is a manufacturer of vegetarian food. Okay, they are manufacturer of food, including ready meals and plant-based sausages and burgers, which it supplies to large grocery chains across the countries. Now, just out of context, one thing I want to tell you is if you see a manufacturing brand, especially for food, remember that they have high obligations towards the law, strict laws. So compliance of laws and regulations is a point that you can write in multiple areas in substantive procedures as well, in multiple areas, because you see that there are multiple health and safety hazards that are carried into a food business. So there are multiple restrictions that are there, multiple laws that you have to comply with, multiple licenses that you have to obtain. So strict laws and regulations can implicate in your internal controls as well. That do you have policies, SOPs that are maintained in your organization so that you can maintain the hygiene and health activities or health laws that are being placed by the government? Are you complying with them or not? So internal controls are relevant in that domain as well. Okay. Now, their main business is based on sausage burgers, which is supplied to large grocery chains and countries. The company has grown significantly over the last 5 years. So company has grown, increasing revenue by 50%. It's its year ended 31st December 2025. You work in the internal audit department of Shroom Company and perform periodic review of internal controls, assess the risk management process of the company, and perform fraud investigations when application when applicable. The following areas have been reviewed by the company. Okay, 2005 non-current assets, revenue, purchase, payroll, inventory. So they have given you the data of last 3 years in which you are checking the systems for 3 to 4 separate areas. No areas repeated here. Now you are reviewing. You have been provided with the following information. You are reviewing the internal controls over non-current assets and asset expenditure of the company, which were last reviewed in 2002. So we are basically doing what? We are checking non-current assets and we are checking our asset expenditure. That means basically capital expenditures. What is the biggest problem here is that capital expenditures, are they approved or not? Were they needed or not? Have we classified or recorded them adequately or correctly or not? So these are the things that we have to mainly see in the systems. A Shroom prepares a rolling 5-year asset expenditure budget updated annually by the Asset Expenditure Committee. The committee has 3 members. Each year, the heads of the department meet with the committee to discuss asset requirements of the budget period. All the assets purchased must be included in the budget, except in exceptional circumstances for which there is a contingency fund. Contingency fund is basically a backup plan for us. Okay, when asset expenditure required, the relevant department. Now here we are seeing the control systems being there. Now, when there is a requirement of a capital expenditure, department head must send a request to the committee with a quotation from the least suppliers. So we are sending a demand, basically you can say, or a request to have an asset expenditure, and from two of the suppliers, quotation from two of the suppliers. Okay, the requisition is approved by the committee if the items the requisitions are included in the budget and the quotation is acceptable in nature. The approval is noted in the minutes of the meeting. A copy of the approved requisition form is sent to the purchasing department where a purchase order is completed, and a copy of the approved requisition is kept with the order. Before order is placed, the director must agree the order details to the approved requisition and sign the purchase order as the evidence of the check. So these are good controls being implemented here. If you are not checking the particular documentation, the requisition, the orders, and the approval of it, you might end up giving orders for things that are not approved or that are not necessary for the organization. On receive, we get a good receive note. Each asset is checked to the authorized purchase order and check for condition evidence. These checks is noted on the GRN. Each asset assigned unique serial number, which is recorded on the asset and written on the GRN. The GRN forward to the finance team, which maintains non-current asset register. The asset added to the asset register as well. The fixed asset register is updated accordingly. The non-current asset register contains description of the asset, the serial number, and the cost to be capitalized. Okay. The expected useful life, purchase date, and department location and estimated residual values also written there. So everything is given to the particular department when the asset is there with us. The register notes everything down. The non-current asset register is password protected, and the only small number of people in the finance department know the password. Only small number of people, but small number of people know about it. On a quarterly basis, the management account details the total asset expenditure incurred and the amount budgeted for the period with explanations of any variance greater than 5%. Once a year, the internal audit department agrees the physical asset to the asset register to ensure register is complete. Okay, completeness is checked once a year. Now, what does the question say? Which two of the following control objectives are addressed by the work of the asset expenditure committee? Now, what is the asset expenditure committee doing here? The asset expenditure committee is basically approving the purchases when they get the quotation of the particular goods. They check the requisition, they check the need of the requisition, they check the need of the good, and check the quotation of it. Okay. So now, if they're checking the quotation, the need of it, they are basically checking whether the asset is for business purpose or is for personal usage only. Now, first of all, what is the objective that is addressed by the work of asset expenditure committee? Objective will be to basically authorize anything that is purchased. Authorize anything that is purchased. Okay. The objective of the work, objective of the committee is authorization of the work that is done. Now, is it their responsibility? Now, here the first point says that first of all, to ensure assets purchased are authorized. Okay. Now tell me one thing here. If we read the passage again, when asset expenditure is required, the department must send a requisition to the committee and with quotation from these two suppliers. The requisition is approved by the committee if the items required are in the budget and quotation is accepted. The approval is noted in the minutes of the meeting. Now, here what they're telling you or what they're asking you, read the question very carefully. Which two of the following control objectives are addressed by the work of, now control objectives are being addressed by the work of asset expenditure. Now, what is the objective of the team? Is that they're not asking that. They're not asking you that what is the objective of the committee. They're saying what is the objective that they're achieving by the work they are doing. So we are asking for the end result, not the ideology of this committee. We're not asking you the idea of this committee. We are asking you for the end result of this committee. We are asking you for the outcome that we are about to get from this particular committee. Okay. So first of all, to ensure assets purchase authorized. Is this the objective that we are achieving? Right? Is this the option or objective that we are achieving? They are basically they are basically identifying or describing the internal control, but not the risk here. The objective that we are trying to achieve is mitigate the risk. The objective of a control is the control present is to mitigate the risk. So here they're not identifying the risk. Here they're not identifying the risk. Their work, they are there to authorize the particular purchase. Obviously, this is the correct point. But what is the risk here? They are not highlighting that. This particular number one is incorrect. I see many people were thinking that one is the correct answer. I guarantee that everyone would have thought that one is the correct answer. Okay. And why is it not? Because it is not highlighting the risk. For the objective to be there, the objective needs some motive. Okay. Number two, to ensure assets purchased are for valid business use only. So, do I see some kind of agenda here that we are seeing that assets are purchased only for business use? The problem can be that the risk can be the here is that we might purchase something that is not for business use. So they are mitigating a risk that the asset is for only business use here. So number two is a correct option. Number three, to ensure the non-current asset register is complete. So does control ensure completeness? So completeness is the objective of the committee to make sure things are recorded completely? No, the objective is not that. So this is not the correct option. Number four, to ensure assets purchase represent the value for money. Now, if I am asking for quotations, okay, now I'll explain this by an example. You are going out to buy a mobile phone. Okay, you identify the features, you have a budget. And now, if you're purchasing something, if you're authorizing something, you will see whether the features are matching the budget that we have. That means the money I'm spending, am I getting the value out of it? Or am I being able to am I the person who is basically spending the money for the correct usage or not? Am I getting the value out of the product that I'm buying or not? So here the biggest problem is that I'm spending sometimes organizations purchase goods at a higher price. They might not get the value of the things that they want. So this committee is asking for the quotation and matching them with the budget to identify that whether the particular asset is adding value to the organization that they want or not in the adequate amount they have or not. Now last, to ensure all asset purchase are given a unique serial number, that is not the duty of your particular committee. So last one is also incorrect. Okay. Now moving forward to the next point, next question. For each of the following controls given, select the type of control activity described. Okay, we have to identify what is the control activity described here. Number one, the internal audit department agrees the physical asset to the asset register to ensure completeness. Okay, so what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I am checking. I have a physical asset. I go there, I check the physical asset. Okay, I pick a physical asset and I am checking my register as well. I'm checking my register as well. So am I picking one document or one physical thing and comparing it with the other? Yes. Am I comparing one document with another? I am here basically agreeing to physical assets to asset register to ensure completeness. This is basically substantive procedure. This is here what I'm doing here is I am basically agreeing that my documents match or my document is matching my physical existence, right? Now, what can be the correct answer here? First of all, verification. Verification is not the correct answer. I'm not verifying anything. I'm checking that everything is complete or not. Physical logical control, is the control implemented? I'm checking the control. No, I'm not. So it leaves me to reconciliation. I'm reconciling my document to the physical asset's existence. Okay. Next, variances between the actual and budget expenditures are analyzed in quarterly management accounts. So if I am basically comparing my budget with my actual, comparing my budget with my actual and analyzing them on a quarterly basis, what am I doing here? Is it segregation of duties? No, segregation of duties has nothing to do with. Okay. Is it reconciliation? Reconciliation is basically comparing two documents. Comparing two documents, one can be external, one can be internal. One document is made by me and the other thing is not made by me, or the other thing is present in by third parties or anything else. Here, if variance analysis is done, what is variance analysis done? Identify the gaps. Identify the gaps, the differences between amounts. If I am basically trying to verify that my budget is actual or my amounts that are there are near to the budget or my actual position is in logical understanding or not. So verification of the numbers is a better option, a better control, a better system that I can see here. So verification of amounts is a better option I see here. Use the green. And here and reconciliation is the wrong one. Next, non-current asset register is password protected. Now, if I am having a password applied, first of all, segregation of duties is not the obvious one out. Now, if I'm having a password, if I'm having a password, does it mean that I am authorizing, allowing someone to enter it or not? Am I a person who is to be asked first, or I am basically applying a logical control over the access of the system? I'm applying a physical or logical control over the system. So that is a control being applied, not authorization. So I believe that the question is clear to you guys that what kind of action have we taken, what control is there, and why is it basically sufficing the objective what we are trying to do here. Now, next question. 93. It says, which of the three of the following documentation together provide persuasive evidence that asset purchased during the year have been authorized? Okay. Which of the three out of the particular five give me an evidence that I have gotten my documents authorized? Okay, now let's see this one. First of all, requisition. Requisition, is it authorized? Yes, it is authorized. So that means basically it will give me an evidence that yes, it is authorized. It is a document that is present. I can check the authorization there. So it will give me a reliable audit evidence. Now, next thing, order. If I'm placing an order, if I'm placing an order, what does it mean? If I'm placing an order, what does it mean? If I'm placing an order, that means some document is going out to third party. And the purchasing director is checking the particular requisition before he's placing the order. So yes, here I'm also getting the chance of authorization, chances of getting my system authorized or checking my controls of authorization. Now, number three, goods received note. If I've received goods, does that document tell me that I have gotten the purchase verified? No, it means that the document says that I have received goods. It is not telling me that my purchase is authorized. So option number three won't be incorrect option. Number four, non-current asset register. If something is added to a register, it doesn't mean that it is authorized. It is evidence that the asset is there or something is there. It is evidence that something is there in the office or in the organization. It does not give me any indication of the authorization. Next, minutes of the asset expenditure committee meeting. If the committee has a meeting and they have discussed something, the minutes will have the complete detail of the particular conversation. If they have the conversation there, I can read the conversation and check whether it was authorized or not. So last one will also be correct option. So 1, 2, and 5 is the option that I can see is correct. So option number 4 is correct. Okay. Now, which of the following is not a test of control the external auditor of shroom company may perform in relation to non-current asset? Not a test of control, not a test of control that the auditor may perform in relation to non-current assets. Okay, let's see. What is this one? Inspect a sample of assets purchased during the year for a serial number and trace this to the non-current asset register. Okay. They're saying, first of all, this is not a test of control. We have to identify anyone that is not a test of control. Okay. Now, if an external auditor comes in the organization, if they come in the organization and they check for a purchased asset that has a serial number. Serial number is a control. He is checking that as asset purchased for the year has a serial number and he can trace it to the asset register. That means he is checking whether the control was applied or not, whether the serial number control was applied here or not. So this is basically a test of control. Now, review a sample of goods received note for evidence of checking against purchase order and condition. Now he is verifying the three-way method. He is checking the GRN with the purchase order. So this is a control implied in the organization. There is a control applied in the organization, right? If I have these three documents that are not matching, that means my controls are weak in nature. So this will be basically a test of control, not a substantive procedure here, right? So this is an incorrect option. Now, compare actual asset expenditure with budgeted asset expenditure during the year and investigate any variance greater than 5%. So what is he doing? Is he checking that we have reported more than 5%? Do we have reported any expenditure that is more than 5%? No. He is saying investigate the reason for greater than 5%. He's investigating the reason. So he is performing a substantive procedure here. He's checking budget versus actual and identifying any kind of reasoning or obtaining reasoning for the difference that is occurring. So he's substantially checking the details of the organization and asking questions regarding them. So this is a substantive procedure rather than a test of control. So this is one of the correct answers. We'll read the last one as well, so that we are clear on why is it not the correct answer. Review the internal audit working papers, documentation, and reconciliation of physical assets with non-current asset register. So reconciliation of physical asset with non-current asset register is basically we have recorded the system or not, and it is a work of internal audit. So basically, it is a internal control or a test of control. So that is why it is not the correct answer. Now, number 95. What does it say? It says the external auditor has the air expressed. The external auditor has this air expressed in interest in using some individuals from Shroom internal audit department to provide direct assistance with external audit procedures. So ISO 610 applied here. Now he's saying we'll use some of the internal departments, some of the people from the internal department, internal company, and we are going to use them for external auditor work. So using the work of internal auditor or using the internal auditor for a personal use. First of all, this is a very contradicting or conflicting thing that we do. Okay, now if you are using something or a person who is in the company, first of all, independence is checked, their work is checked, whether they are authorized or not. In some countries, it is not authorized, etc., etc. So now, first look at from the perspective of controls here. For which of the following areas would it be appropriate for internal audit to provide direct assistance? Okay. Now, which of the areas will be there where the internal audit department can provide direct assistance? Now, for this answer, think of the ways where the internal audit department is least connected with. Okay. Now let's read the options. Assessing controls over non-current assets. So internal audit department will have a direct link of test of control, assessing controls. Hence, there will be a thread that they are reviewing their work only. So this is not a good area for the internal auditor to be used at. So this is incorrect option. If I'm using them, they know the controls. They will not basically highlight any kind of discrepancies there, right? Now, revenue recognition. Now for revenue recognition, if I'm using the particular internal audit department, this is a high risk area. Now, for a high risk area where there is a higher chance of material misstatement, I will not use the internal auditor to do my work in exchange of me doing it itself. If there is a high risky area, I'm going to do it myself. Okay, revenue recognition is likely to be involved in significant judgment and is possibly very high risky area of having material misstatement. So I will not basically get my internal auditor involved. If he makes a mistake, I'm the one liable at the end. So I will not get them involved in this stage. So revenue recognition is not a good area to be working upon. Now, valuation of inventory for a manufacturer is very significant judgmental work where work in progress is a concept, raw material is a concept. There is a higher risk of material misstatement. It is a position where we are not very certain about the valuation of the inventory. So the work is to be done by the auditor himself, not the internal audit department, because here there are multiple aspects to the calculation. If you're using absorptional costing or marginal costing, if you're using some other types of standard costing methods, you're using process costing. What is the process of costing of one? What is the batch costing of other, etc., etc. So these are high risky areas. So significant work in progress can be there. There can be significant judgment here. So high risky area, we cannot get the internal auditor involved there. Now, performing in count cash counts. Now, if I get a person involved in checking the number of notes I have, or asking a person to basically count the number of units I have, or count the inventory I have, counting is not a very risky area, right? Counting is a very low risk area. So I can get them involved there and basically use their work in this particular domain. So last one is the correct option. And with this, I have completed some of the revision areas, some of the practice questions of section A of internal controls. This has covered some areas that I feel the student should know before they are attempting exam. There are many questions that are very confusing in nature. So I've tried to solve all the possible outcomes. I've read all the options for you so that you know which one is correct or not incorrect. So I believe that I have made my point and I'm able to clarify some of the queries that you have, and you have gained some knowledge after this session. So I'm open to questions now. This session was basically focused on section A type of internal controls. Now we'll be moving on towards in the next sessions, in the coming sessions. I will try my best to give you more ideas on more questions on section B type of questions as well. We will go for more areas such as substantive procedures of or audit planning or any or the complete syllabus of the audit. I'll try to keep weekly live sessions and weekly sessions where we are having a better understanding of the drafting of answers. I understand that drafting is a very big problem. Uh, I will do sessions on drafting of multiple types of questions in which substantive procedure, audit planning, and your test of controls all will be covered as well. Now, I want to emphasize one thing, that please do not memorize answers. Understand how to drive answers, make up a plan for it, deal with as many scenario based questions as you can. When I teach substantive procedures, when I teach test of controls, when I teach auditors' response to assess risk, I have completely taught the lessons in scenario-based questions. When I teach you a substantive procedure, I apply it instantly on a scenario. So this enhances the passing ratio of students substantially. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, I have had a more than 75% passing ratio this time as well and last time as well. And every person who has attended my sessions has given me feedback that we were able to cover all the possible outcomes or possible scenarios of the exam. So try to go for diversity. Don't just focus on one or two questions. Now in the examination, if you follow the kit, if you solve the kit, in the kit there are 95% of the questions are one from non-current assets or asset, one is from asset, one is from equity, one is from liability. But what will it be? It will be basically any area of the asset, liability, or equity. So take up a particular asset, try to solve a scenario of an asset, try for goodwill. Go for goodwill is a difficult thing. Try for related party transactions. Try going for consolidation. Go for inequity issue of shares, recording of shares for premium and your common shares. For liabilities, go for non-current liabilities. Go for accrued and prepayments. These are complex areas where people get stuck. So write down what are assets, what are liabilities, what are equities. Okay, write the components of each of them from the financial statements, and from each of the components, pick one up and write substantial procedures to verify for scenarios. And please solve scenarios. I am emphasizing it, and because in the examination you have seen that it will be a scenario based question. If you are just rot learning substantive procedures or controls in the examination, it will not help you because you are not writing accurately. At the end of the day, you will be right. I have given an exceptional exam, I have done a very good exam, but you are not related to the scenario. The examiner will not mark you according to it. They will not give you marks for it. They might give you one or two marks for efforts, but the answer will not relate. It would result in a failure. So a tip that I wanted to give, and if you have not joined the WhatsApp group for your support, please join it, and I will be there 24/7 almost to answer your queries, and I'll try my best to help you out. Okay, so with this, we end our session for today. We'll meet inshallah in the future, and I'll be updating the dates on the WhatsApp group. So please be active there. See the WhatsApp group; it will help you inshallah in the examination. So that's all for today. We'll meet again. Goodbye.